Hey there, Amanda with the Happy Homestead. It is almost 7:30 p.m. on a weeknight, and I was going to put together some bagels, some sourdough bagels, and I thought, you know what? Let's just show you how I do it, show you how it's done. It's just another way to use up your sourdough starter. And this is a sourdough starter recipe, so it's not a discard recipe. However, you probably could try to use it with discard because it actually bulk ferments overnight for up to 12 hours. So discard may work. It's worth a try. If you experiment with that, let me know. But this recipe is so simple. I've adapted it from one that I found online and then, changed it up so it works for us. And so I'll put the recipe down in the show notes. But it's basically 500 grams of bread flour, which is the same amount that we use whenever we do our boulets or our sandwich loaf. And it is 255 grams water, so a little bit less water because normally we do 350 grams. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons honey, a little sea salt, and then about 125 grams of starter, so more starter than normal. And so we literally mix everything together and then we let it sit on the counter overnight. Hallelujah, right? It's so easy. And then in the morning, whenever you have a chance, you go ahead and you roll them out, you let them sit for 30 to 60 minutes, and then you boil them. I think it's a couple minutes or 1 minute on each side, and then you put them in the oven. And we'll go through all of that tomorrow. I'll show you. But what I love about this is that I can just let it sit until I'm ready. Normally it would be anywhere from 10 to 12 hours, but if it goes over 12, who's gonna know? It'll be okay. All right, let's go ahead and put our bagel dough together. So it is helpful to have a stand mixer with a dough hook. Doesn't mean it can't be done without it, but it does help to have it. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in our liquids first. So we're gonna add, oh, and by the way, my starter, if you can see that there, it's already fed. So here's where it started and it's up to here. So this is Giada, the starter that we made together over the series. And so I fed her this morning. And so again, it's 7:30 at night. So she's been sitting here waiting. So you want to have your starter fed and active. But we are going to start together with adding the liquids, right? So we have 255 grams of water, about 40 grams or 2 tablespoons of honey or sugar. You could use sugar if that's what you have. This is honey from our bees. 2 teaspoons or 10 grams of sea salt. Now you'll notice that for the sea salt and the honey, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And so then we're just going to mix that up just a little bit. And now we're going to start adding in our bread flour. So we have 500 grams of bread flour. So bread flour, it's usually sold that way, but it's either hard red or hard white wheat. So if you grind your own flour, you're going to look for either hard red or hard white to grind. So again, 125 grams or half a cup. I'm going to eyeball it. Honestly, guys, I forgot to add the starter. I should have added that with the liquid, but c'est la vie. We'll be right. Okay, so we're starting to have a mass here, but there's a lot down here still. So I'm just going to use my hands. Okay, so I can see that this isn't coming together really well. I'm going to add just a few more drops of water. When you're baking, it is important to follow the recipe, but I also want you to use your own intuition, right, and your own experience. And if you see it not coming together right, maybe you need to add a little more water, or maybe it's too wet and you need to add a little more flour. that shouldn't happen often, but it does happen. Okay, I am very satisfied with how this looks, and you can see it's a nice, well, it's hard for me to do that with the hook here, but it's a really nice kind of solid mass together. It's not too sticky, but it's together. So I'm going to put this now on the lowest setting for 7 to 8 minutes and let it work the dough. Just pick up this way. It's in our big, beautiful mass. And so now all we're going to do is put this in a bowl, cover it, and let it rest overnight. It is that simple. And we'll come back to it in the morning. So I just put the bagel dough over on the counter. Now, I don't know if you saw previously, but hanging on one of my cabinet hooks, I had some cheesecloth hanging over a bowl. And that is because with our homemade bagels, I thought, let's make some cream cheese. I've never made this before, so don't be thinking like I'm that person, because this is a first. But oh, it smells so good. It is a French style cream cheese. I started the process yesterday. It's from Ricky Carroll's home cheese making book, and it's called the French style cream cheese. It's basically 2 cups heavy cream and 2 cups of milk, along with a basophilic culture and some rennet, and that's it. And so now I'm just mixing it up. It basically sat on the stove with no heat, but sat covered on the stove for 24 hours from last night or yesterday afternoon to this afternoon. With the culture in it, and then I drained it. I just kind of put it in the cheesecloth and let it drain all of the extra liquid away. And so now it's cream cheese. And so now I'm going to add the salt, and I'm debating if I want to add like dill or, you know, an herb to it, like an herbed cream cheese. I just had to share this because it looks so good. I'm so excited. And I took out some smoked salmon from our freezer this morning, because on our bagels tomorrow, I am having lox with our bagels, and I love lox. That's my one thing whenever I would go to New York City. They have the best lox and bagels. Oh my goodness. So I'm trying to recreate that. Good morning. It is 9 a.m. and it is time to get the bagels going. I am so ready to have a bagel with the cream cheese and lox. So it's grown. So this is kind of like a bulk proof or a bulk ferment, just like you would when you're baking bread. So we're just going to take this out, and we're going to divide it into 8 bagels, basically. I was going to say 8 balls. I decided maybe I should come up with a different word. But we're going to shape 8 bagels out and then lay them on the parchment paper and let them rest. So you can get all precise, and I've done this before, and weigh it, divide it by 8, and then have 8 equal bagels in size. I am not going to get that precise this morning. I am going to try to make them as even as possible. And so then once you have them starting to get out, what I do is I actually roll them. You could just kind of shape them in a bagel, but I find that it's so much prettier to do this. And then I just kind of shape them like that. I find they look really nice that way. And so then you'll just put that there. So do that with the rest of these. And they will puff up a little bit. So once we put these on the parchment paper, you're gonna let them sit anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes. And they will puff up like another kind of ferment again. So all of these are rolled out. It took just minutes. I'm gonna cover them with a towel for about an hour. So while your bagels are setting out on the counter on the sheet pan, about 10 to 15 minutes before your hour is up of resting time, you're gonna wanna get a large pot of hot water really going. It doesn't have to be a vigorous boil, but you do need to get it really hot and kind of on that verge of boiling. And you're gonna add at least 3 inches of water in that pot. And you're also gonna add 1 tablespoon sugar. So I have my sugar here, and I have my water already in. I just hadn't added the sugar yet, but I'm gonna do that. So at least 3 inches of water, a tablespoon of sugar, and get that really hot. And so that way, when our rest time is up for our bagels, we're actually gonna drop the bagels into the hot water and let them boil on each side for 1 minute. And so you'll need something to help flip the bagels. It can be a fork, a chopstick, a small little sieve, just something to help flip them when that minute is up. And then once they're both sides are cooked and boiled, you're gonna put it back on your parchment lined sheet pan. And then when they're all done, they're gonna go in the oven and bake and finish off. And it's right after they come out of the water that you can put your toppings on. So you'll see the process, just wanted to give you a heads up. It's time to bake the bagels. So it has been about an hour. My oven is preheated to 425 degrees. I have my water on the stove. It's not quite boiling yet, but it's getting close, with 1 tablespoon of sugar in it. Now I wanted to show you, because I'd mentioned earlier, that this is where you're gonna do your toppings after they come out of the water and before they go into the oven. We do about half plain and we do half about everything bagel. And I will link down below. This is something that we purchased on Amazon. It's just an everything bagel seasoning and it is delicious. And so this is our favorite. So what you'll do is whatever seasoning you want to use, and you can do sesame seeds, poppy seeds, you can do like dehydrated onion pieces, like an onion bagel. You'll basically pour it in a bowl, and then you'll see me dip the bagel in it, then put it back on the cookie sheet, and then it's gonna go in the oven once all of them are done. I hope this is helpful. What I'm doing is explaining everything before I do it. I usually find that's best, because then you have an idea of what I'm doing rather than me trying to explain it at the time. So hope that works for you too. I'm only doing 4 at a time as to not crowd the pot. And I'm actually boiling them for 2 minutes on each side. I said that incorrectly earlier. So 2 minutes each side. I've set my timer. I have one bagel here that fell apart. So it's like a C. I'm gonna flip. Now these will go in the oven at 425 degrees for about 25 to 28 minutes. I am so excited to eat this. I've been waiting like 2 days for this. It looks delicious. How can it not? Let me know if you make them, what you think. The process really is so easy, and it's worth the little effort that it takes. Thanks for joining me on this sourdough bagel journey. I need to go eat this and be transported to another place right now. Stay healthy, stay well. See you next time.